let's turn to the campaign, and specifically to Herman Cain. My question here says that Herman Cain's campaign was derailed this week by sexual harassment accusations, but actually, I'm looking at the latest numbers and thinking that it wasn't derailed after all.
I think it's safe to say there's a difference here between the idea the voters have of Herman Cain and Herman Cain's campaign, strictly speaking, if we take the latter to mean the group of people who are working to get him elected and who are having a rather difficult time this week dealing with these allegations of sexual harassment.
And quickly fill us in on those, because we're at the end of the week. Give us the rundown on what's happened.
This has been a curious renewal of the Washington scandal routine because, among other things, the names of the women who have made these allegations are buried in the past. It's not that the women aren't still with us, but they have successfully managed to keep themselves from being personally identified. So the story broke Sunday night with Politico's story saying at least 2 women had been harassed when they worked for the National Restaurant Association when Herman Cain was its chief executive, and that they had complained and that they had left the employ of the NRA, that's the Restaurant Association, with agreements that they would not speak about what had happened, and they were paid some amounts of money. Now, over the week, with some of the reporting that's been done by Nia-Malika and some of the others, we've learned that these agreements were apparently $35,000 and $45,000, respectively. Not huge amounts of money, but significant amounts of money to these 2 women because they were significant parts of their total compensation, and that they went on to other work. There was apparently a third person who also thought about making allegations in a formal way but did not do so, did not actually file some sort of a complaint. And the allegations themselves have been enough, of course, to raise questions about Herman Cain, and he has not given a consistent story about what happened. Initially, he said he didn't have any recollection of any of this, and then, of course, he started remembering more and more of it. And he has maintained throughout that he never sexually harassed anyone ever in his entire life. But yes, okay, there were some of these allegations and things did have to get settled, but that isn't really terribly important. It's a long time in the past. And because, and I think this is critical, we don't have any pictures of these people. The only person involved in this we see on television is Herman Cain, and he is stoutly defending himself. We do not see the women. We do not have any pictures of them. We don't put forward any information about them. They fade. The allegations become just words, and his defense is really quite vivid and quite aggressive and quite physical, and we see that, and that has a stronger impression. So, as you were referring earlier, the latest poll that has just come out, Washington Post ABC poll, it's not in the physical newspaper this morning, but it was online early this morning, shows that his numbers have not suffered. Now, there are some people, particularly women, who have new questions about Herman Cain because of these allegations, but most Republicans are saying it doesn't matter. I believe it was 70% of Republicans were saying it doesn't matter to them, at least not yet. And so where we stand at this moment is it's all very much in the balance, and we have to see what new information may arise or whether we get to meet either of these women and hear her make her case for herself in person.
Okay, Nia-Malika, you've been reporting this. Are we going to hear from these women?
Well, the woman that we've been in contact with through her lawyer at the Washington Post doesn't really want to be public, but she does want her story told. So today we're going to hear from the National Restaurant Association whether or not that can somehow happen, whether or not through her lawyer she can release some sort of statement that would give her side of the story. The implication being that what she's been hearing from Herman Cain very much differs from what she actually experienced. I think Herman Cain has benefited tremendously, not only from his vigorous defense, but also this sense among Republicans that this is some sort of witch hunt, a la what happened with Clarence Thomas. They've been likening him to Clarence Thomas. They've been using very racialized language to talk about this, talking about it as a high-tech lynching, again, a phrase from Clarence Thomas. So he's been able to raise I think it's something like $1.2 million in the last couple of days over this. He raised $5 million in the last quarter. So it has benefited him tremendously. I talked to Senator Jim DeMint a couple of days ago, and he said that very thing. He said if no more details are released, that he thinks it would end up helping him. I do think, though, that's still a big if. We don't know if more women will come forward, if they will actually speak and identify themselves and raise their hands. And I think that would in some ways shift the narrative. If there's a face to go with this, if there's a name, if there's a story with details, then I think we might see something different with these polls and the story.